All right, it's time for Game Time Live here at FedEx Field. Larry Michael along with Lou Holder. Yes, that's Chris Cooley walking by behind us. The great Chris Cooley, and we are wearing the same shirt as we're doing the radio broadcast later today. Hey, Lou, let me talk to you about this ball game real quick. How big of a game? Put this game in perspective for the Redskins fans out there.
It's huge. They should have had that game last week, but we talked about it. Special teams, penalties. Those two things are not going to win you football games if they're in the plus category. So this is huge. This is a team that they can beat. This is a team, because then you start getting into the NFC schedule with the Giants next week and the Eagles after that. It's huge to come away with these first two games a 1-1 and not 0-2.
And before we step aside, the Rams come in here having beaten Seattle in overtime. They handled the Redskins here very easily, 24-0 last year. A quick look at them in a general sense. How good a team are the Rams?
They got Greg Williams as their defensive coordinator. That means that they're going to be very sound defensively. Jeff Fisher, we all know his pedigree. This team is going to put up points. And I told you, a lot of these games are going to come down to a field goal here and a field goal there. This is going to be another high-scoring game, Larry.
Well, let's step aside and check out some of the action on the field as you see the quarterbacks and running backs. Let's focus in on the running backs over here, Alex. And you've got the three Redskin running backs, Alfred Morris, Matt Jones, and Chris Thompson. And I guess a defense like this, they're going to bring some blitzes, as you said, with Greg Williams. That kind of raises the ante on a good ground game today, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I think that we talked about that last week as far as having that two-headed monster, maybe a three-headed monster at running back so we can pound and pound and pound. Because before it was, Alfred Morris. We had Roy Halou and we had some people, but this guy, the new set of running backs that we have now, it's going to be hard to defend all of them.
Swing it back around, take out the quarterbacks on this end. Of course, Kirk Cousins coming off a performance when he was 21 of 31. Had a touchdown pass, but 2 interceptions as Derek Carrier, the tight end, gets a pass thrown by Colt McCoy. Tell me about Kirk Cousins' performance last week. Obviously played okay, but didn't play well enough for the team to win.
Well, he didn't play well enough for the team to win because obviously all phases of the football team have to come together. When you have a performance like he did and you don't give up a kickoff return and you don't have 11 penalties, you win that football game, Larry. You win it at home. So Kirk Cousins feels more confident. Even the stuff that he says during the week, just his body language, the more and more he is entrenched as the starter and is allowed to make those mistakes, the more comfortable he is in this offense. And so I'm happy with what I saw. I don't know about you. I'm happy with what I saw.
I was happy with it. And again, play here, play there. Everybody here's got to play a little bit
NFL,
better.
Though.
Yeah, and you look at this particular game against the St. Louis Rams, Kirk Cousins, when you see that blitz coming, talk a little bit about the anticipation. He's a guy that gets rid of the ball quick and knows where to go with the football. To me, that seems doubly important against this Rams team because they're going to be coming after him from all angles.
That's true. You got to process quickly in the NFL as a quarterback, and I think what was also key, Larry, was that this offensive line was gelling quickly. I saw some things with Trent Williams and Brandon Sheriff and some stuff, and that was against Ndamukong Suh. Every week in the NFL, there's going to be a premier rusher coming at you. But I think if you can handle Ndamukong Suh the way they did, I think that speaks volumes for what's going to happen with this Redskins offensive line, which I think is the linchpin to this entire offense.
Redskins' new kicker, Dustin Hopkins, just walked by. He'll be wearing number 3. Of course, Mosley used to wear number 3. And Andrew Walker, before you don't go away, Luke, because Andrew Walker has this, the inactives, and they were just given to Andrew. Who's inactive today?
We've got Robert Griffin III, Deshaun Jackson, obviously we knew, Justin Rogers battling plantar fasciitis, Martrell Spate with that concussion, and then Spencer Long, Tom Compton, and Ari Kwanjo are your healthy scratches.
Okay, so we know that Spade is out. Terrence Plummer, who was on the Redskins practice squad, looked very good in the preseason. He's been brought up to the main roster, and we know Rashard Ross is going to see a little more action in this game. What does he bring in now? He's not going to specifically replace Deshaun Jackson. You've got the rookie Jamison Crowder, Ryan Grant going to step in. But when Ross gets on the field, what do you expect out of him?
I like him. I liked him in the preseason. When this boy made the roster, there were a number of people, especially the guys at the barbershop, Larry, who told me to say hello. Good. The guys at Jason's barbershop and people around the DMV said, we like this Rashard Ross guy. And I think that this is going to be, we don't want to see Deshaun hurt. We don't want to see any of our premier receivers hurt. But I tell you what, you saw Pierre Garçon take on a much bigger load, which we like to see him across the middle, doing some things that he did his first couple years when he was here. And if this Rashard Ross and Compton and some other these guys get into the flow, it's going to be hard to defend all of them as well. This is a good roster that Jay Gruden and them put together.
You're watching Game Time Live from FedEx Field. Larry Michael joined by Lou Holder. Kickoff 1 o'clock today, the 39th meeting between the Redskins and the St. Louis Rams. And last year, as we mentioned, the Rams 24-0. And Greg Williams, very obviously aggressive defensive coordinator. But how much does that humiliating loss have to haunt the Redskins? Because you know what they say about payback, Lou, and Redskins can't afford to go down 0-2. I would think you got a little extra motivation if going 0-2 is not enough.
Absolutely. You talk about motivation. We all know about what Jeff Fisher did with the captains in that RG3 trade. Everything. I mean, these two teams will always be combined because of the picks that were given up for Robert Griffin III. So, yeah, there's some extra motivation, not only for the people that were on this roster last year, but for the people that are new. Yes, you do not want to go 0-2 knowing that you got the Giants and the Eagles staring right at you, and the Giants on a short week.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big game for the Redskins. Lou, you've got the halftime show coming up. If you're coming to FedEx Field today, folks, you'll want to stick around for the halftime show hosted by Lou. And you've got Hispanic Heritage Month being celebrated. There's going to be a ceremony, and you're going to be talking to one of the great all-time Redskins.
Yes, Gary Clark is going to be the guest. Joe Theismann was awesome for the first week talking about the Super Bowl 17, but Gary Clark, I'm going to be very interested to talk to him as far as the receivers that are out here now, who reminds him of him. Gary was one of those wide receivers. I mean, he was tenacious. That's what everybody says when you talk to Doug Williams, when you talk to Mark Ripple, when you talk to anybody who had Gary Clark on their receiving core, they said that this man was tenacious. So I'm looking forward to speaking to him. It's great stuff that we're doing now at halftime, Larry, and you were one of the catalysts for it. Thank you very much.
Lou, you are the talent, however. Good luck to you with the halftime show. And I got to get down to your barbershop. I'm going to need a trim here before too soon.
Yes, well, you said that, hair is win first. Right?
Yeah, I'm not cutting my hair until we win.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Andrew Walker, editor of Redskins.com, is now with us. And, Andrew, you have your 5 keys or your 6 keys, your 10 keys, however many keys you got. You got plenty of them in this game because this is as big a Week 2 game as this team has had in a while. Fell last week at home, but you don't want to lose 2 home games and go down 0-2. Rashard Ross getting the pass there from Colt McCoy. So what do the Redskins have to do here today to come away with the win? And with the Cowboys playing in Philly, I think Philly's going to win that. 1-1 will be tied for the division lead, for crying out loud.
Yeah, you'll take that lead after week 2. But, first and foremost, you can't beat yourself up. When you have 14 penalties called against you and 11 were accepted, that's not something that can happen. You had 4 holding calls, 3 pass interference, 2 false start calls, and then a personal foul, delay a game, roughing the passer, illegal use of hands, and illegal formation. So you just can't have that. So they're going to definitely have to clean that up, especially from their home crowd. You have to plug up Quinn Donald and company. We all know how good the Rams are up front defensively. They can go very deep. They've got Robert Quinn, former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, reigning NFC Defensive Player of the Week, and Aaron Donald. But they have Chris Long, Alec Ogletree, Michael Brockers, Akeem Ayers, and James Laurinaitis, among others. So you got to stop them.
How would Chris Cooley handle that defense? What would he do? Cooley, what do you think is going to have to happen here? Redskins offense, a little bit of a breeze, so running attack, doubly important.
I think they're going to run the ball better than most people expect them to run the ball. Rams did a great job last week against Seattle and that offense and the read option, but Seattle wasn't really creative. They just went read option throughout most of the day. You got to stop penetration in the backfield up front, but they did a good job against Miami. I expect them to do the same type of job. And then I think to help everything out, you got to make 1 or 2 big plays this week on offense. That's what really killed them last week is they just didn't have any big plays. Right. I think they're able to do it this week.
The Drive with Cooley, Zabe, and Galdi every day on ESPN 980. Cooley, that is an outstanding shirt you're wearing. It is a non-authorized shirt, however. I've already been busted a couple of times because it's not a Nike shirt.
Well, I didn't know that it wasn't authorized, but I know that we coordinated today and talked on the phone this morning and said, let's wear the same shirt, and so we look great today.
You wear it well, my friend. I'll see you in the broadcast booth. The one and only Chris Cooley, ladies and gentlemen. Cooley, he's our man.
Yeah, Chris, obviously watches the film, so he knows exactly, he breaks it down so well. I always love hearing what he has to say.
Pick up your keys. Sorry, we got interrupted. We got a lot going on this show, Andrew. You got to be able to roll with it.
I'm rolling with the punches. Now, Larry, what about the cornerback position? Now, obviously with suspensions, injuries, all that, it's kind of a toss-up for the Redskins. Bashaud Breeland's back. Chris Culver's out. What do you see happening at the cornerback position?
Well, the mainstay D'Angelo Hawley's right in front of us right here. I mean, he got banged up last week, and he said, you know what, I was hurting, but I wasn't going to not play. And so he's going to be here. He's going to give everything he's got and then some. But you got Bashaud Breeland. Had a little rust, I think, in that final preseason game. He gets out here today. Will they try to pick on him? Will Blackman picked up off the street, literally off the street, and he will be active. He's not on your list of inactive, so we'll see him because of the injury to Dustin Rogers. And, of course, hey, David Amerson, another chance to show he belongs.
Now, with Amerson, a lot of people were kind of picking on him in the game last week because the Dolphins kept going at his receiver. He really didn't do all that bad until that touchdown reception. He kind of slipped, had some bad technique there, Joe Barry said. So, Amerson's obviously a guy that you really need to step up and play well. And then finally, you guys are talking about revenge. I asked Kirk Cousins in his press conference this week, is there a revenge factor for this? Last year, you get shut out, and they kind of brought it. And of course, he's going to say the right thing and say, no, they're just focused on them. But I do know that in this locker room, they want to beat this team bad. They want to make up for what happened there with the 24-0 loss.
One final comment from you, if I could, about special teams. Dustin Hopkins, the new Redskins kicker, has never kicked in a National Football League game. He is brought in replacing a very accurate kicker in Kai Forbath, but the lack of deep kickoffs for the Redskins couldn't afford them the opportunity to continue to go with him, and partially because the coverage teams have been very good. So it's kind of compounded by the fact you've got a short kickoff and bad coverage teams. Dustin Hopkins, young kid, big leg, but man, never kicked in the league before. His heart must be pounding right now.
Right. A lot of people might have thought, why are you getting rid of Forbath? He's so accurate on those 40 and under field goals. Well, think about it this way. If you can push back the opposing starting field position closer to that 20, and be among the league leaders, that's the farther that they have to go to get into field goal range for them. So it works both ways. So, you want to be in the field goal range and be accurate on those field goals too. And Hopkins, we'll see how he does. But, the expectation for him is he'll drive the ball, into the end zone, into the back of the end zone on his kickoffs to push the opposing team back.
All right, many thanks to Andrew Walker from Redskins.com, the editor of Redskins.com. Appreciate him giving us the inactives, and we'll give you our final look at this game before we step aside to get ready for the radio broadcast. 39th meeting between the Redskins and Rams, and in a lot of respects, a similar feeling to last week. A lot of the pundits out there think the Redskins offense isn't going to be able to hold up under the pressure of the St. Louis defensive front. They do have an outstanding defensive front, a lot of first-round picks on that defense, but I believe just like last week, the Redskins offensive line has really been coached up by offensive line coach Bill Callahan. They put in a lot of extra time during the offseason. I think they're ready to go against whatever the opposition might be. And last week, they really nullified Ndamukong Suh and Cameron Wake. I believe they'll do the same thing here today. But it is a little breezy out here today. The wind kicking up. I think that it could impact the passing game, could impact the kicking game, but it's not going to impact the running game. The running game is going to be solid as a rock for the Redskins. And I do believe that is paramount for the Redskins here, more so than last week. This week in this game against the Rams, run the ball. Run the ball. Do not give up on the run. Bring in Matt Jones early if you have to. Alfred Morris coming off a fantastic game last week, 121 yards. He really did a great job for the Redskins in that first game. But, again, wasn't enough to get the win. So if the Redskins can run the ball and win the battle of turnovers, the turnover battle is essential. And protecting the quarterback, last week, Seattle's Russell Wilson sacked 6 times by the St. Louis Rams, a variety of blitzes from defensive coordinator Greg Williams. For the Redskins, protecting Kirk Cousins, but you got to win that battle of turnovers. Redskins got 1 last week, 3 sacks. One was a strip by Preston Smith. He recovered the ball off the fumble by the quarterback Tannehill last week. Got to force some turnovers. Redskins only 7 interceptions all year last year. They were near the bottom of the league in terms of turnover ratio. They really got to do better in that category, especially here today, to pull out a win. I want to thank our crew, as always, Jen Hinkle, along with Alex Diamond. And I want to thank you for watching Game Time Live, and we'll talk to you from the broadcast booth a little bit later. Thanks for watching.